Let's move on to this. The national minimum wage will go up from 25 Rand 42 cents to 27 Rand 58 cents. This as of the 1st of March, and this will be for each ordinary hour worked. Now, EPWP workers, though, will be entitled to a minimum wage of 15 Rand and 16 cents per hour from just above 13 Rand. The Department of Employment and Labour Chief Director of Labour Relations, Thembinkosi Mkalipi, joins us live now. Mr. Mkalipi, thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it. Now, this, of course, is always the big, talking point, and the big question always is, while the new, national minimum wage is enforced by law and violations could be subjected to fines, there's always the question that gets asked: how do you police it? How do you ensure that, in fact, people are adhering to it?
It's not easy. There's no doubt about that. We depend on the workers themselves, as we keep on saying every year, that we don't have enough inspectors, we'll never have enough inspectors to send inspectors to each and every factory, farm, and house. Now, we depend on workers to assist us and come forward if they don't get this minimum wage. We depend on trade unions to represent their workers, to bring the information so that we can be able to enforce the minimum wage. In those cases where we're able to catch employers who are not paying the minimum wage, we do take it up. The workers themselves can go to the CCMA and report that they are not taking up the minimum, they are not getting paid the minimum wage. And the fact that we are having this interview and talking about it in the TV is also to make sure that workers know about it and they know what to expect in terms of this issue. But as I've said, we can't guarantee that we'll be able to send inspectors in each and every factory, farm, house.
So I suppose then one would say, unfortunately, then that leads to the unenviable situation where some could benefit from this, but the reality is not all. So then one then asks, what becomes the plans that are put in place in order to try and address this? Because it is quite an important issue.
What is important is that normally in cases like this, the perpetrators will break the law when they believe that the risk of being caught is very small, and when they are caught, there are no consequences. In this case, those that are caught not paying the minimum wage, the law is clear. The amount of money that they have not paid must be doubled and to what they were supposed to pay. But what we're saying from our side is that we've got to work together, all of us, workers, society. We've got to work together with society so that we expose those employers who are not paying the minimum wage. Remember, the people that get paid the minimum wage are the most vulnerable workers in society.
And them being vulnerable means at some point they sometimes are afraid to come forward and tell the department that this is what they're experiencing. So is there a way for them to report anonymously if they're not getting this amount?
They can go to our offices anonymously. They can phone our offices and report anonymously. But then it might be a little bit difficult if we don't know. But then inspectors can go to that factory and try and look at books. Now, employers, we know that some employers keep two sets of books. They keep sets of books in case inspectors come wanting to look at the books, and then they keep different sets of books in terms of payment. It is important that if an employee says, I've not been paid the minimum wage, you are able to look at the pay slip, you are able to take on it. But it is difficult, as you say, some workers are afraid of even coming forward.
So how do you navigate then this situation where there are two sets of books in order to be able to ascertain if indeed someone is telling the truth?
Well, I mean, the best way of ensuring that is the pay slip.
And if you don't get it because maybe someone doesn't want to come forward, is there any other mechanism?
Well, if the employee is not prepared to come forward, maybe their children can come and report. Maybe their friends can report the case and say, in this company, workers are not being paid the minimum wage. Maybe when we are there, they will be able, when we interact with them, to talk and indicate the issue.
Yeah.
But somebody must come forward and assist and bring the information, because if the information is not there and the employer hides the information on the other hand, and it's going to be very difficult. That's why we're saying we depend on us working together, both the employees, the workers, and other companies. Remember, those companies that are not paying the minimum wage undercut other companies. If other companies know that their competitors next door are not paying the minimum wage, they are able to sell their products cheaper than the company that pays the minimum wage. Therefore, the company that they compete with should also come forward and indicate and give us that information if they know that their competitors are not paying the minimum wage.
So, Mr. Mkalipi, some have described this as, while it's a noble act, others say that, you do have some small businesses who are struggling with, the cost of living, struggling with the impact of rolling blackouts, for example, who are also struggling to stay afloat. There's households who are buckling under pressure as well, who are saying that this is something they might have a challenge affording because they've not received salary increases. Do you also take this into account when you're making some of these decisions?
There are two issues to deal with on this issue. First is that before a national minimum wage is reviewed and increased, there's a thorough research that is done by an independent body. And most experienced economists in this country, Harun Barat, based at the university at UCT, has done research over the last 4 years, looking at whether has the minimum wage got a negative effect on employment. And every time the answer is no, it does not. Well, we'll look also at this one. The second thing is that for those employers who are not able to pay the minimum wage, there are processes. They can apply for exemption from the department, and there can be reduction in the minimum wage that they needed to pay. Obviously, they've got to open their books and show that they are not able to pay the minimum wage.
So they can approach yourselves. Thank you so much for that information. I guess it's helpful, especially as you say, for people who are watching, who can approach your offices and they kind of have now an idea of what to do, whether from an employer or an employee position. Thank you so much, Mr. Mkalipi. Do appreciate that update. That is the Department of Employment and Labour Chief Director of Labour Relations, Thembinkosi Mkalipi.